The massive chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy. 47 different alien species sat in their floating seats, all eyes focused on the tall, blue-skinned centauri at the center podium. Ambassador Thek's forearms trembled slightly as he held the datapad that would change everything. "Fellow council members," Thek began, his voice echoing through the vast space. "What I am about to share will shock you all. The humans, they are not what we thought they were." On the research station Meridian, Dr. Elena Brooks was having her morning coffee when the emergency alert flashed across her screen. She nearly dropped her cup when she read the subject line. "Urgent, human reclassification. All stations report immediately." Elena was one of the few humans working in deep space research. For 3 years, she had been studying alien biology alongside her colleagues from dozens of different worlds. She had always felt welcome among them. But now, something had changed. "Computer, display message," she said, her voice shaky. The hologram appeared in front of her, showing the official seal of the Galactic Council. Elena read the words twice before they sank in. "By unanimous decision of the Scientific Committee, human beings are hereby reclassified from sentient biological entities to Class 7 dangerous vessels. All humans in galactic space are to report to containment facilities immediately for assessment." Elena stared at the message. Class 7. Dangerous vessels? That category was reserved for things like unstable dark matter bombs and weaponized black holes. How could humans possibly fit into that classification? Across the galaxy, Captain James Wright was enjoying a quiet meal in his ship's dining hall when the alarm started blaring. The Pioneer was a small exploration vessel with a crew of 30 humans and 20 aliens from various species. "Captain, to the bridge immediately," came the urgent call over the intercom. James ran to the bridge where his alien first officer, a reptilian Vorthan named Kev, was staring at the scanner with wide eyes. "Sir, we have a problem," Kev said. 12 galactic enforcement ships just dropped out of hyperspace around us. They're demanding we prepare for boarding." "On what grounds?" James asked. Before Kev could answer, the main screen lit up with an incoming transmission. A stern-faced Centauri officer appeared on screen. "Captain Wright, by order of the Galactic Council, your vessel is now under quarantine. All human crew members are to be transferred to our containment ships immediately." "Containment ships?" James stood up from his captain's chair. "What's this about?" "Human consciousness has been classified as hazardous material, Captain. You and your crew pose a threat to galactic safety." James felt his blood run cold. "That's impossible. We've done nothing wrong." "The evidence suggests otherwise," the Centauri officer replied. "Prepare for boarding." Back at the Galactic Council, Ambassador Thek was presenting the evidence that had led to this dramatic decision. The holographic display showed dozens of incident reports from across the galaxy. "Consider the case of the mining accident on Kepler 442b, Thek said, his voice growing stronger. 15 human miners were trapped underground for 6 days. According to physics, they should have died within hours from lack of oxygen. Yet when rescue teams reached them, they found the miners alive and well in a pocket of breathable air that had somehow formed in solid rock." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Dr. Nix, a small, gray-skinned scientist from the Rigel system, raised one of his tentacles. "Surely that was just luck," Dr. Nix said. "Mining accidents sometimes create strange air pockets." "That's what we thought too," Thek replied, "until we analyzed the rock samples. The oxygen didn't come from any natural source. It appeared to have been created from nothing. The rock itself had been changed at the molecular level." Another hologram appeared, showing a frozen wasteland. "Then there's the incident on Europa Station," Thek continued. "A research team of 5 humans was caught in a blizzard that killed their power systems. Outside temperature, -200 degrees. They should have frozen to death in minutes. Instead, they survived for 12 hours until rescue arrived. Heat sensors showed their body temperatures remained normal throughout the ordeal, despite their suits having no power." The chamber fell silent. Dr. Vell, the Vorthon Council's top physicist, stood up slowly. "Ambassador Thek, are you suggesting that humans can somehow Change the laws of physics? That's exactly what I'm suggesting, Thek replied. But it gets worse. Show them the battlefield recordings from the Outer Rim conflict. New images filled the air above the chamber. They showed human soldiers in desperate combat situations fighting against impossible odds. In every recorded case where human forces faced complete annihilation, something impossible happened, Thek explained. Their weapons didn't run out of ammunition even when they should have. Their equipment worked perfectly despite being damaged beyond repair. Enemy targeting systems mysteriously failed at critical moments. Dr. Elena Brooks watched the same presentation from her station, feeling sick to her stomach. She recognized some of the incidents being discussed. She had written reports on several of them, always finding reasonable scientific explanations. But now, seeing them all together, a terrifying pattern emerged. The most disturbing evidence, Thek continued, comes from our own facilities. Humans working in our research stations show probability readings that are statistically impossible. They find solutions to problems they shouldn't be able to solve. They survive accidents that kill other species. They seem to bend reality around themselves. Captain James Wright was now sitting in a detention cell aboard one of the enforcement ships. Through the small window, he could see his beloved Pioneer being escorted away by alien cruisers. His cellmate was Tom Miller, a human trader who had been captured from another ship. Tom was pacing back and forth, angry and confused. "This is crazy," Tom said. "Dangerous vessels were just people." James stared out the window, thinking about everything he had experienced in his years of space travel. The lucky breaks, the times when his ship's systems worked better than they should have, the way problems seemed to solve themselves when things got desperate. "Maybe we're more than just people," James said quietly. Back at the council, the final piece of evidence was being presented. Dr. Vell took the podium, his scaled hands shaking. "Council members, I have spent months studying human brain patterns. What I found defies everything we know about consciousness and reality. Human minds don't just observe the universe, they interact with it on a quantum level. Every human thought creates tiny ripples in space-time. When humans face extreme danger, these ripples become waves, and waves can change things." The chamber erupted in frightened whispers. Ambassador Thek raised all forearms for silence. "The conclusion is unavoidable," he announced. "Humans are not just another sentient species. They are living weapons of reality manipulation. They don't even know they're doing it, which makes them even more dangerous. Every human is a walking probability storm, unconsciously altering the universe to ensure their survival." The vote was called. One by one, each species representative cast their decision. The result was unanimous. Humans would remain classified as Class 7 dangerous vessels until further study could determine how to contain or control their abilities. Dr. Elena Brooks turned off her screen and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, her entire species had just been declared too dangerous to exist freely in the galaxy. She didn't feel dangerous. She felt like Elena Brooks, a scientist who loved learning about alien cultures and exploring the mysteries of space. But deep in her heart, she knew the council might be right. Humans did seem to have unusual luck. They did survive things that should kill them. And if that was true, then everything was about to change. The age of human freedom in the BO galaxy had just ended. The age of human fear was about to begin. 3 weeks had passed since the official classification. Reports were flooding in from every corner of the galaxy, and each one made the situation worse. In the high-security archives of Luna Station, Lieutenant Kate Morgan sat surrounded by thousands of classified files, her face growing paler with each document she read. Kate had been assigned to review all human-related incidents from the past 50 years. What she was finding made her question everything she thought she knew about her own species. The first file made her hands shake. It was about a cargo ship called the Mary's Hope that had suffered complete engine failure in deep space. The crew of 8 humans should have died when their life support ran out after 3 days. But rescue ships found them alive and healthy after 2 weeks, somehow breathing normally in a ship that had no working air recyclers. "That's impossible," Kate whispered to herself. But the sensor readings were clear. The ship's oxygen levels had remained constant throughout the entire ordeal, despite having no functioning systems to maintain them. Meanwhile, on the mining colony of Kepler 4/42b, the investigation into the tunnel collapse was revealing even stranger details. Dr. Morris, a human geologist, was examining the rock formations where the 15 miners had survived. "Look at this," Dr. Morris said to his alien colleague, a 6-armed insectoid named Click. He pointed to crystalline structures, growing from the tunnel walls. "These formations shouldn't exist. The mineral composition is completely wrong for this type of rock." Click's compound eyes studied the crystals carefully. These appear to be some form of oxygen-producing matrix, but such structures cannot form naturally in this environment. "That's what I thought too," Dr. Morris replied. "But get this, the formations only exist in the exact area where the miners were trapped, nowhere else in the entire mine system." Back on Luna Station, Kate was reading about an even more disturbing case. A human child named Billy had been aboard a transport ship when a hull breach occurred. The 7-year-old boy had been sucked out into the vacuum of space through a hole in the ship's wall. In space, without a suit, death comes in seconds. But Billy had survived for 12 full minutes before rescue pods could reach him. Medical scans showed he should have died instantly from decompression, radiation, and freezing temperatures. Instead, he had somehow remained conscious and unharmed. "The boy's cellular structure shows impossible adaptations," the medical report stated. "His blood chemistry changed to function without oxygen. His skin developed temporary resistance to radiation. His body temperature remained stable despite exposure to absolute zero." Kate put down the file and rubbed her temples. Every case was the same pattern: humans facing certain death, then somehow changing the rules of reality to survive. On Europa Station, Commander Lisa Park was investigating another incident that had happened just days ago. A research team studying ice formations had fallen through the surface into an underground cavern. The 5 humans had been trapped 50 meters below the ice with no way to communicate with the surface. According to the rescue logs, Lisa told, her second-in-command, a tall blue Andorian named Vex, the team should have frozen to death within an hour. The cavern temperature was -40 degrees. "But they survived for 18 hours, Vex replied, looking confused. "How is this possible?" Lisa checked her readings again. The thermal sensors show something incredible. The ice around the trapped humans actually started generating heat, not melting, generating thermal energy from nothing. The cavern became a warm pocket in the middle of a frozen moon. Far across the galaxy on the planet Rigel Prime, Dr. Vell was conducting his own research. The Vorthan physicist had been studying human brain patterns for months, and his latest discovery was keeping him awake at night. "Computer, display the neural scan from Subject 12, he said to his lab's AI system. A holographic brain appeared in front of him, pulsing with electrical activity. But this wasn't like any brain scan Dr. Vell had ever seen. The human's neural patterns were creating visible distortions in the space around them. Subject 12 was placed in a sealed chamber with decreasing oxygen levels, Dr. Vell recorded in his notes. As the oxygen dropped to dangerous levels, the subject's brain activity changed dramatically. The neural patterns began creating quantum fluctuations that somehow converted carbon dioxide back into oxygen within the chamber. Dr. Vell switched to another scan. Subject 15 was given a fatal dose of radiation. Instead of dying, the subject's brain patterns began interfacing with the radioactive particles themselves, somehow neutralizing their harmful effects. The physicist leaned back in his chair, terrified by what he was discovering. Humans weren't just lucky survivors. They were unconscious reality manipulators. Back in his detention cell, Captain James Wright was making his own discoveries. He had been moved to a maximum security facility on Titan Station, along with hundreds of other captured humans. But strange things were happening even here. His cellmate, a former military officer named Steve Johnson, was telling him about the escape attempts that had been happening throughout the station. "It's the weirdest thing," Steve said. "Yesterday, a group of humans tried to break out of Section C. They had no tools, no weapons, nothing. but every single security door they approached somehow malfunctioned and opened for them. James raised an eyebrow. Equipment failure? That's what the guards thought too. Until it happened again, and again. Then the computer system started, having glitches that always seemed to help the human prisoners. Cell doors unlocking at just the right moment. Guard rotations being delayed by computer errors. It's like the station itself wants us to escape. Dr. Elena Brooks was experiencing similar phenomena at the research facility where she was being held. She had been placed in a laboratory setting where alien scientists could study her while she worked on basic research problems. Dr. Brooks, said Dr. Zix, a small gray alien with large black eyes, please solve this mathematical equation. It controls the life support system for this section. Elena looked at the equation on the screen. It was impossibly complex. The kind of math that would take supercomputers hours to solve. She had never seen anything like it before. I can't solve this, she told Dr. Zix. This is beyond my training. Please try, Dr. Zix insisted. The air recycling system depends on it. Elena stared at the equation, feeling frustrated and helpless. But as she looked at the numbers, something strange happened. The solution just appeared in her mind. Not through calculation or logic, but as if someone had whispered the answer directly into her thoughts. The answer is 8473952, she said. Dr. Zix's eyes went wide. He quickly input the number into his computer. The equation balanced perfectly. How? Did you know that? Dr. Zix asked, his voice shaking. I don't know, Elena replied honestly. It just felt right. Later that night, Dr. Zix was reporting to his superiors via secure communication. The human subject solved a level 9 quantum mathematics problem in 30 seconds, he reported. She had no advanced mathematical training, no computer assistance. She simply knew the answer. How is this possible? Came the response from Dr. Vell on Rigel Prime. I believe the humans are accessing information that exists outside normal space-time, Dr. Zix replied. Their consciousness operates on quantum levels we cannot understand. They don't calculate solutions. They commune with the mathematical structure of reality itself. On the prison transport ship detention, human prisoners were being moved to a new high-security facility, but the ship's crew was reporting impossible problems. Control, this is Captain Rax. The Centauri captain spoke into his communicator. We're experiencing massive system failures. Navigation is offline, life support is malfunctioning, and weapons systems are completely dead. When did these failures begin? Came the response. Exactly when we loaded the human prisoners, Captain, Rax replied. It's as if their presence is causing our technology to break down. In the prisoner hold, Tom Miller was talking quietly with his fellow humans. Anyone else notice that the ship's problems always seem to work in our favor? He whispered. The locks on our cells keep failing. The guard schedules keep getting mixed up, and now the whole ship is falling apart. An older woman named Martha nodded. My grandmother always said humans have guardian angels. Maybe she was right, just not in the way she thought. Or maybe, said a young man named Rick, we're the angels, and we don't even know it. Dr. Vell was putting together his final report for the Galactic Council. The evidence was overwhelming and terrifying. Council members, he wrote, humans do not simply survive impossible situations through luck or determination. Their consciousness actively rewrites local reality to ensure their survival. They interface with quantum fields that we can only access through our most advanced technology. Each human mind is essentially a biological quantum computer, capable of processing information that exists outside our normal understanding of physics. He paused, then added the most frightening conclusion of all. The effect appears to be growing, stronger. As more humans spread across the galaxy, their collective unconscious influence on reality is increasing. We are not dealing with a dangerous species. We are witnessing the birth of a new form of existence that transcends our current understanding of life itself. Kate Morgan finished reading the last file in her stack. Hundreds of cases, all showing the same impossible pattern. Humans didn't just refuse to die, they made death refuse to take them. She looked out the window at Earth, visible in the distance, and realized that her entire species had become something beyond normal classification. They weren't dangerous vessels carrying human consciousness. They were consciousness itself, learning to reshape reality with every heartbeat. Research Station Omega-7 hung in the darkness of space like a massive metal spider. Inside its laboratories, the most terrifying experiments in galactic history were about to begin. The Galactic Council had authorized unlimited testing to understand exactly what humans were capable of and how dangerous they truly were. Dr. Nick stood in the main laboratory watching as the first human test subject was brought in. The man's name was Michael Clark, a simple engineer who had been captured from a cargo ship. Michael looked scared but determined as he was led to a transparent chamber in the center of the room. Subject 1 will now be exposed to controlled atmospheric poisoning, Dr. Nix announced to the observation deck filled with alien scientists. The chamber contains a lethal concentration of methane gas. Death should occur within 3 minutes. Michael was sealed inside the chamber. The poisonous gas began to fill the space around him. The alien observers watched their instruments carefully, waiting for the inevitable. 3 minutes passed. Michael was still breathing normally. "Impossible," whispered Dr. Vell from the observation deck. "Check the gas composition." The readings were confirmed. The chamber was filled with enough poison to kill any known life form. But Michael stood calmly in the center, showing no signs of distress. "The gas is being neutralized," reported Dr. Zix, staring at his instruments in disbelief. "Somehow the toxic molecules are changing their structure when they reach the subject's respiratory system." 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes passed. Michael remained perfectly healthy. "Get him out of there," Dr. Nix ordered, his voice shaking, "before we accidentally create something worse." When Michael was removed from the chamber, he seemed genuinely confused by all the excitement. "Was something supposed to happen?" he asked. "I felt fine the whole time. The air tasted a little funny, but that was all." The second test was even more disturbing. Lisa Parker, a medical technician, was brought into a radiation chamber. The levels of radioactive energy would normally kill any living being within minutes, causing massive cellular damage and organ failure. Subject 2 is now being exposed to 500 roentgens of gamma radiation, Dr. Nix announced. "This dose is immediately fatal to all known biological life." Lisa was placed in the chamber, and the radiation began. The scientists watched their scanners, in amazement as her cellular structure began to change in real time. "Her DNA is rewriting itself," Dr. Vell reported, his voice filled with awe and terror. "The radiation isn't destroying her cells. It's causing them to evolve immunity to radioactive damage." After an hour of exposure that should have killed her instantly, Lisa walked out of the chamber feeling perfectly normal. Blood tests showed that her body had somehow developed complete resistance to radiation poisoning. "How do you feel?" Dr. Nix asked her. "A little warm," Lisa replied with a shrug. "Like I've been sitting in sunlight. Actually, it was kind of pleasant." The third test subject was David Chen, a pilot who had never shown any particular intelligence or special abilities. He was given a mathematical problem so complex that the station's supercomputers would need several hours to solve it. The twist was that his life support system was connected to the solution. He had to solve it correctly, or die. Subject 3 has 30 minutes of air remaining, Dr. Nix announced. "The equation controls his oxygen supply. Only the correct answer will restore life support." David stared at the impossible mathematical formula displayed on the screen in his chamber, numbers and symbols that would challenge the greatest minds in the galaxy. He had never seen anything like it before. As his oxygen levels dropped and the chamber grew hot and stuffy, something extraordinary happened. David's eyes suddenly became focused and clear. His hands began moving across the input pad, entering numbers with complete confidence. "What is he doing?" Dr. Zix asked. "There's no way he can understand that equation." But David continued to work, his fingers flying over the controls. With only 2 minutes of air remaining, he entered his final answer. The life support system, immediately activated. Fresh, cool air flooded the chamber. "Check his solution," Dr. Vell ordered. The computers confirmed it. David had solved a level 10 quantum physics problem, that should have been impossible for any individual to complete without massive computational assistance. When asked how he had done it, David looked just as surprised as everyone else. "I don't know," he said honestly. "The numbers just made sense. Like someone was telling me what to write down." Dr. Elena Brooks had been moved to the same station for her own testing. As a scientist herself, she was given a different type of experiment. She was placed in a room with 12 other humans and given a series of impossible survival scenarios. "Group Test Alpha," Dr. Nix announced. "Subjects are trapped in a sealed environment with limited resources. They have been given enough food and water for 3 days. The test will continue for 2 weeks. Elena looked around at her fellow test subjects. There was Tom Miller, the traitor she recognized from the detention facility. Steve Johnson, the former military officer. Martha, the older woman who talked about guardian angels. And 9 others she had never met before. "Well," said Tom, trying to stay positive, "I guess we better make these supplies last." But something amazing happened over the following days. The food never seemed to run out. Every time they checked their supplies, there was always just enough for another meal. The water containers refilled themselves overnight. When someone got sick, they recovered unusually quickly. "This is impossible," Elena told the group on the 7th day. "We should have run out of food days ago." Martha smiled knowingly. "Maybe we're being taken care of." "By who?" Steve asked. "By us," Elena replied, beginning to understand. "By what we are." The alien scientists watching the group were documenting everything. Food appearing from nothing, water generating spontaneously, illnesses healing without medical treatment. The laws of physics were being casually ignored. Their survival probability was calculated at 0%, Dr. Vell reported to the Galactic Council via secure transmission, yet they continue to thrive. The group dynamic appears to amplify their reality-altering abilities exponentially. But the most terrifying discovery came during the final group test. 24 humans were placed in a chamber designed to be completely impossible to escape from. Solid walls, no doors, no windows, no tools of any kind. "Escape test prime," Dr. Nix announced. "The chamber is sealed with quantum locks that cannot be broken by any known technology. There is no possible way out." The humans were left alone for 6 hours. When the scientists returned to check on them, they found an empty chamber. All 24 humans had vanished. "Where are they?" Dr. Nix demanded, checking every scanner and sensor in the facility. "Sir," came a panicked voice over the intercom. "They're in the cafeteria, having lunch." The security footage showed the impossible truth. The humans had simply walked through solid walls as if they weren't there, not breaking them, not melting them, not finding secret passages. Just stepping through matter like it was empty space. When questioned about how they had escaped, the humans gave answers that chilled the alien scientists to their cores. "The wall felt thin," said one. "I just pushed and it gave way," said another. "We really wanted to get out, so we did," explained a third. Dr. Elena Brooks was the most articulate in her explanation. "We didn't escape the chamber. We convinced reality that we were never trapped in the first place." Dr. Vell was putting together his final report on the experiments. The data was so disturbing that he had to read it 3 times to make sure he wasn't making mistakes. "Council members," he wrote, "humans do not simply bend the laws of physics, they rewrite them on demand. Their consciousness exists partially outside normal space-time, allowing them to access quantum fields that control the fundamental structure of reality." He included video footage of the tests, knowing that the council would hardly believe the written reports alone. The effect strengthens dramatically when humans work together toward a common survival goal. A single human can alter local probability. A group of humans can apparently alter the basic laws of matter and energy. Dr. Nix added his own observations to the report. Most disturbing of all, the humans are completely unaware of what they're doing. They don't know they're manipulating reality. To them, it feels natural and normal. They're unconsciously reshaping the universe around them with every breath. The experiments had answered the Galactic Council's questions, but the answers were more terrifying than anyone had imagined. Humans weren't just dangerous because they could survive impossible situations. They were dangerous because they could make impossible situations become possible. In her holding cell, Elena Brooks stared out at the stars and finally understood what her species had become. They weren't passengers in reality. They were reality's co-pilots, and they were just beginning to learn how to fly. The question now was whether the galaxy could survive humanity's flight lessons, or whether humanity would accidentally crash the entire universe while learning to control their incredible unconscious power. Dr. Vell transmitted his report to the Galactic Council with a single, final warning. We are no longer studying a dangerous species. We are studying the birth of gods who don't yet know their own power. The news of the experiment spread like wildfire through the secret networks of free humans scattered across the galaxy. What the Galactic Council had intended as research had become something much more dangerous, proof that humanity was far more powerful than anyone had imagined. Captain James Wright stood in the hidden asteroid base that had become the headquarters of the human resistance. Around him, holographic displays showed the locations of captured humans throughout galactic space. Thousands of his people were being held in detention facilities, research stations, and prison ships. They're not just studying us, James told the assembled group of resistance leaders. They're torturing us to understand what we can do. Commander Lisa Park, who had escaped from Europa Station during a convenient system malfunction, stepped forward. The reports from Omega 7 are worse than we thought. They're testing humans to destruction, trying to find our limits. And what did they find? Asked Tom Miller, who had broken out of his transport ship when all the locks mysteriously failed at the same time. That we don't have limits, Lisa replied grimly. At least not the kind they understand. The resistance had grown from a few scattered groups into a coordinated network of ships, bases, and sympathizers. They called themselves the Prometheus Fleet, bringing fire to the gods who thought they could cage humanity. But the strangest thing about their rebellion was how successful it was becoming. Despite having inferior numbers and technology, every mission they attempted seemed to succeed through impossible coincidences. Steve Johnson was reporting on their latest rescue operation. We hit the prison transport detention yesterday. Our intel said it was heavily guarded by 12 warships. And? James prompted. 8 of the guard ships suffered engine failures just as we arrived. The other 4 had targeting computer malfunctions that made them shoot at empty space instead of us. We rescued all 47 humans without firing a single shot. Martha, the older woman who had become something of a spiritual advisor to the group, spoke up quietly. It's happening more often now. The universe is helping us. The universe doesn't take sides, Martha, said Rick, a young engineer who specialized in breaking alien computer systems. Doesn't it? Martha replied. Every time we need something, it appears. Every time we're in danger, our enemy's weapons malfunction. Every time we're trapped, doors open by themselves. Either we're the luckiest people in galactic history, or something bigger is going on. Dr. Elena Brooks had recently escaped from Research Station Omega 7 in what the aliens were calling an impossible security breach. She had simply walked out through 7 locked doors, past dozens of guards, and onto a shuttle that happened to be leaving at exactly the right moment. I've been thinking about what happened during the experiments, Elena told the group. The aliens kept saying we were altering reality. But what if we're not changing anything? What if reality was always like this, and we're just the first species that knows how to work with it instead of against it? Captain James Wright nodded thoughtfully. You mean we're not breaking the laws of physics? We're using laws that other species never discovered? Exactly, Elena replied. Every species in the galaxy thinks the universe is fixed and unchangeable. But what if it's actually fluid, responsive, alive? What if consciousness and reality are partners, not opponents? Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from their scouts. Admiral Kate Morgan, who had broken out of Luna Station with several classified files, appeared on the main screen. James, we have a problem, Kate reported from her ship. The Galactic Fleet is mobilizing. They're not just trying to contain us anymore. They're planning to destroy every human settlement in the galaxy. The room fell silent. This was what they had all feared, that the aliens would decide humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to exist. "How long do we have?" James asked. "Fleet Admiral Rax is leading a force of over 2,000 ships. They'll reach the Sol system in 6 days. Earth, home to 8 billion humans who had no idea their entire species had been classified as weapons of mass destruction. We have to warn them," Lisa said. "We have to help them evacuate." "Evacuate to where?" Tom asked. "The aliens control every habitable planet in the galaxy. Earth is the only home we have left." Steve Johnson stepped forward with a grim expression. "Then we fight." "Fight?" Rick laughed bitterly. "We have maybe 50 ships total. They have 2,000. How exactly do we fight that?" It was Martha who answered, her voice calm and certain. "The same way we've been fighting all along. We let the universe help us." Admiral Kate Morgan was analyzing the enemy fleet movements when something strange started happening to her instruments. "This doesn't make sense," she muttered, running diagnostics on her scanner systems. Her first officer, a human named Paul, looked over her shoulder. "What's wrong?" "The Galactic Fleet is reporting massive system failures. Engine problems, navigation errors, communication breakdowns. It's like their entire technology base is falling apart." On the flagship of the Galactic Fleet, Admiral Rax was dealing with exactly those problems. His impressive armada was supposed to be the most advanced military force in galactic history. Instead, it was becoming a floating disaster. "Sir, the Vengeance reports complete engine failure," his communications officer announced. "The Retribution has lost all navigation systems. The Domination is requesting emergency assistance after their weapons exploded in their own launch tubes." "How many ships are still operational?" Rax demanded. "Approximately half, sir, and the number is dropping every hour." Rax stared at the tactical display in horror. Ship after ship was going dark or reporting critical malfunctions. It was as if the fleet was being sabotaged from within. "Could the humans have infiltrated our systems somehow?" he asked his tactical officer. "Impossible, sir. Our security is absolute. Besides, the failures are random and different on every ship. No saboteur could cause this kind of chaos." What Admiral Rax didn't know was that every human in the Resistance was unconsciously focusing on the same desperate wish, that the fleet attacking their home would fail, and reality was listening. Meanwhile, the rescue operations were accelerating, beyond all logical possibility. Human ships that should have been easily captured were slipping through alien security like ghosts. Prison transports suffered convenient accidents that allowed their human prisoners to escape. Research stations experienced computer glitches that opened all the doors at once. Commander Robert Hayes was leading one of these rescue missions. His small ship had just extracted 30 humans from a maximum security facility on Titan Station. "How did we do it?" asked one of the rescued prisoners as they escaped into hyperspace. "We didn't do anything special," Robert replied honestly. "The guards were all called away for an emergency drill that apparently never existed. The computer systems crashed just as we arrived. The hangar doors opened by themselves when we needed to leave." Another rescued human, a scientist named Dr. Williams, was studying the scanner readings. "The statistical probability of all those things happening at exactly the right time is essentially zero." "Then maybe probability isn't as fixed as we thought," Robert suggested. Back at the Resistance headquarters, Dr. Elena Brooks was making a disturbing discovery. She had been analyzing the pattern of their successes and the aliens' failures. "The effect is accelerating," she announced to the Leadership Council. "Every day, reality seems more responsive to human will. It's like our unconscious influence on the universe is growing stronger." "Is that good or bad?" James asked. "I don't know," Elena admitted. "But I think we're approaching some kind of tipping point. The question is, what happens when an entire species learns it can reshape reality just by wanting something badly enough?" The answer came sooner than anyone expected. News reports started flooding in from across the galaxy about impossible events happening wherever humans were present. On the mining world of Kepler 186f, human workers trapped in a mine collapse had somehow caused new tunnels to appear that led directly to the surface. On the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri, human scientists working on an unsolvable energy crisis had suddenly discovered that their experimental reactor was producing power levels that violated the laws of thermodynamics. On the colony ship New Horizons, human families facing starvation, when their food recyclers failed, had found their storage bays mysteriously refilled with fresh supplies. "It's happening everywhere," Kate reported to the Resistance leadership. "Every human in the galaxy is unconsciously altering reality to solve their problems. And the aliens are starting to panic," James added, reading intelligence reports from their spy networks. "Half the Galactic Council wants to negotiate with us. The other half wants to eliminate us before we accidentally destroy the universe." Dr. Elena Brooks looked up from her research with an expression of wonder and terror. What if they're both right? What if we're becoming something so powerful that we could save the galaxy or destroy it? The Galactic Fleet was now reporting that over 70% of their ships were unable to continue the mission due to mechanical failures. Admiral Rax was facing the most humiliating defeat in military history, not by enemy action, but by the apparent rebellion of his own technology. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "I'm receiving reports that human ships are appearing throughout our formation. They're not attacking, they're just there, sitting in the middle of our fleet like they belong." "That's impossible," Rax replied. "Our sensors would have detected them approaching." "Sir, according to our logs, they didn't approach. They just appeared, as if they were always there and we just now noticed them." Admiral Rax realized with growing horror that he wasn't just fighting an enemy fleet. He was fighting an enemy that could apparently edit themselves into existence wherever they wanted to be. The war between humanity and the galaxy had taken a turn that no military strategist had ever imagined. The humans weren't winning through superior tactics or technology. They were winning because reality itself had apparently chosen sides. And the most terrifying part was that the humans still didn't seem to realize they were doing it. The moment of truth had arrived. The great chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with representatives from every species in known space, but all eyes were focused on the human woman standing at the center podium. Dr. Elena Brooks had requested permission to address the council directly, and after weeks of debate, they had finally agreed. Behind her, Captain James Wright stood with a delegation of human representatives. Around them, the chamber buzzed with nervous energy. Half the galaxy wanted to destroy humanity before they became too powerful. The other half was beginning to wonder if humanity might be the key to understanding the universe itself. "Honored council members," Elena began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. "You fear us because we are different. You have classified us as dangerous vessels, weapons of reality manipulation, threats to the natural order. But you are wrong about one thing. We are not here to destroy your reality. We are here to show you that reality was never as fixed as you believed." Ambassador Thek shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Dr. Brooks, your species has demonstrated the ability to alter the fundamental laws of physics at will. How can you claim this is not dangerous?" "Because," Elena replied, "the laws of physics were never meant to be prisons. They were meant to be tools. Every species in this galaxy has spent millions of years accepting that the universe is unchangeable. But what if you were wrong? What if consciousness and reality were always meant to work together?" Dr. Vell, the Vorthon physicist who had studied human brain patterns, stood up slowly. "Dr. Brooks, are you suggesting that other species could learn to do what humans do naturally?" "I'm suggesting something far more wonderful than that," Elena said with a smile. "I'm suggesting that you're already doing it. You just don't know how to recognize it." She gestured to the massive holographic display that appeared above the chamber, showing brain scans from dozens of different species. "Dr. Vell, your own research shows quantum fluctuations in non-human consciousness. Dr. Nix, your studies of probability in alien societies show statistical anomalies that mirror human luck patterns. The difference isn't that humans can manipulate reality. The difference is that humans don't fight it." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Every species in this galaxy has been taught that the universe is separate from consciousness, Elena continued. You build machines to overcome physical limitations. You create technology to force reality to bend to your will. But humans learn to work with reality instead of against it. We don't force change. We invite it. Captain James, Wright stepped forward. Council members, we didn't come here to threaten you. We came here to share something that could change everything for all of us. Share what? Demanded Admiral Rax, who had been forced to retreat with the remnants of his fleet. Evolution, James replied simply. Not just biological evolution, but consciousness evolution. The next step that every species can take. Dr. Elena Brooks activated another display, this one showing the recent events across the galaxy. Look at what's been happening since our classification as dangerous vessels. Reality has become more responsive everywhere, not just around humans. The universe itself is waking up. The evidence was undeniable. Alien scientists had been reporting impossible breakthroughs in their research. Engineers were solving problems that had stumped them for decades. Even the Council's own chambers had been experiencing beneficial malfunctions that improved their efficiency. The quantum fields that humans access naturally are available to everyone, Elena explained. We're not special. We're just the first species to accidentally discover that consciousness and reality are partners in creation, not opponents. Dr. Vell examined the data flowing across his personal scanner. The readings are extraordinary. It appears that human presence has been gradually increasing the quantum responsiveness of local space everywhere they go. You're making the universe more alive, Elena said to the alien scientists. More responsive to conscious intent. More willing to work with awareness instead of against it. Ambassador Thek raised all four of his arms. Dr. Brooks, even if what you say is true, how do we know this won't lead to chaos? If every species gains the ability to alter reality, won't that destroy the stability of existence itself? It was Martha, the older human woman who had become something of a spiritual guide to the resistance, who answered this question. Honored Ambassador, she said, stepping forward with a gentle smile. Have you ever seen a human child learn to walk? Thek looked confused. I do not understand the relevance. At first, the child falls down constantly, Martha explained. They seem clumsy and dangerous to themselves. But eventually, they learn balance. They learn to work with gravity instead of fighting it. Walking becomes natural, automatic, safe. You're saying that humanity is learning to walk in a larger sense, Dr. Nix observed thoughtfully. I'm saying that all consciousness is learning to walk, Martha replied. Humans are just a little further along in the process. But like any child, learning to walk, we need others to help us stay balanced. The demonstration that followed changed everything. Elena had arranged for humans throughout the galaxy to focus their thoughts on a single, simple goal at exactly the same moment. Not to harm or destroy, but to create something beautiful for everyone to share. As the appointed time arrived, something extraordinary began happening throughout the Galactic Council chambers. Flowers began growing from the metal walls, not earth flowers, but blossoms that reflected the aesthetic preferences of every species present. The air filled with music that somehow sounded like each species' favorite melodies played simultaneously, yet in perfect harmony. The artificial gravity systems, which had always been slightly uncomfortable for species with different evolutionary backgrounds, suddenly adjusted themselves to be perfectly comfortable for everyone present. The lighting shifted to optimal levels for all types of vision. Even the temperature became perfectly pleasant for every biological type in the chamber. This is impossible, Dr. Vell whispered, but his voice carried wonder instead of fear. No, Elena said softly. This is what's possible when consciousness works together instead of against itself. The changes weren't limited to the council chambers. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy of similar phenomena, hostile environments becoming more livable, complex problems solving themselves, ancient conflicts suddenly finding peaceful resolutions. The humans aren't dangerous vessels, Dr. Vell announced to the chamber, his voice filled with awe. They're consciousness evolution in action. They're showing us what we can all become. Ambassador Thek was quiet for a long moment, processing everything he had witnessed. When he finally spoke, His voice was thoughtful rather than fearful. If we accept this, if we acknowledge that humans represent a new form of existence, what happens next? Captain James Wright smiled. We learn together. We explore what consciousness can become when it's not limited by fear. We discover what the universe is really capable of when all its children work together instead of fighting each other. And the classification? Asked Dr. Nix. Do humans remain Class 7 dangerous vessels? Elena Brooks looked around the chamber at the impossible beauty that surrounded them. Flowers blooming from metal, music flowing from empty air, technology that had suddenly become perfectly suited to serve all life. Yes, she said finally. But we change what dangerous means. We're dangerous to limitation, dangerous to the belief that consciousness and reality must be enemies, dangerous to the idea that the universe is dead matter instead of living possibility. She paused, then added with a gentle smile, we're vessels, but we're not carrying human consciousness. We're carrying the future of consciousness itself. The vote that followed was unanimous. Humanity would remain classified as Class 7 dangerous vessels, but the meaning of that classification was transformed. They were dangerous only to old ways of thinking that limited what life could become. The new designation read, humans are dangerous vessels carrying the next phase of conscious evolution. All species are invited to learn from and work with them in exploring the partnership between awareness and reality. Dr. Elena Brooks stood in the observation deck of the council station, looking out at the stars. Around her, representatives from dozens of species were having their first lessons in what humans had accidentally discovered, how to invite reality to dance instead of trying to force it to obey. She thought about the journey that had brought them here, from fear and imprisonment to understanding and partnership, from being seen as threats to being welcomed as teachers. The universe was changing, consciousness was evolving, and humanity had become the bridge between what was and what could be. In the distance, Earth shone like a blue jewel among the stars, home to 8 billion dangerous vessels who were about to discover that they had never been alone in their dance with reality. The age of separation between mind and matter was ending. The age of conscious partnership with existence itself was about to begin. And somewhere in the quantum fields that connected all things, the universe itself seemed to smile.